How's it going, guys? Cody back again, dropping out another video. Right, guys, as a former prisoner that speaks up for prisoners and speaks out on prison issues, etc., I've actually done a news piece last year on the Victoria Derbyshire programme about Skype at the time. The social media platform Skype was being trialled in prisons, in certain prisons, like a very small handful, including a young offenders institution in South Wales and also over in Northern Ireland. This is a story that the Ministry of Justice and the Prisons Minister, Rory Stewart, are thinking about rolling out Skype to prisoners to stay in contact with their loved ones whilst in prison, which is a great initiative. I support it fully, and I'm going to give my little bit at the end, guys, rather than interrupting. So this is a story in the Daily Mirror. Headline reads, "Prisoners will get to Skype relatives to cut down on banned phones in jail." Prisons Minister Rory Stewart wants to bring in the new virtual visits after more than 17,000 banned phones were smuggled into prisons between 2016 and 2017. Prisoners are to be allowed to make Skype calls to their relatives in a bid to stop the flood of mobile phones into jails. Prisons Minister Rory Stewart hopes lifting a ban on the technology to allow virtual visits will stop handsets being smuggled behind bars. It comes after the Sunday Mirror revealed a string of videos recorded on illegal mobiles showing drugs and violence in our prisons. Other inmates have used phone handsets to record rap lyrics and even issue threats from inside. Justice chiefs are now exploring how to install internet-based video services, but the prison chiefs recognise maintaining a close relationship with friends and family can cut the rates of reoffending. Tory Mr Stewart said, "Visits play an important part in reducing reoffending as good relationships with family and friends is proved to reduce the risk of reoffending. We recognise the benefits that internet-based video services can provide in assisting prisoners with maintaining family ties. Work is currently underway to explore the options for the use of IBVs in establishments with strict safeguards in place as the possibility of making greater use of such within prisons in the near future. Recently, Mr Stewart declared he would quit his role if his reforms to cut violence and drugs in prisons had not happened within the next 12 months. There is currently an epidemic of smuggled phones in jails, with more than 20 a day being confiscated from prisoners in England and Wales. Figures show a total of 17,672 handsets were smuggled into jails between January 2016 and March this year. It is believed some of the phones are used to make drug deals from inside jails, but they are also used to contact friends and family on the outside. If inmates had access to services like Skype, then it could cut the number of phones being smuggled into prisons. Some inmates in Northern Ireland are already allowed to use Skype to contact their families. When the scheme was introduced at McGilligan Jail in County Derry in 2015, Governor David Eagleson said, "We know that when prisoners have strong family support, they are in a better shape for reintegration to family and community, and we see this as an important part of the rehabilitation process." Prisoners were allocated up to 30 minutes a week and make calls from a soundproof suite monitored by security cameras. A government report last year suggested video calling technology should be made available to some prisoners so that they can stay in touch with family members unable to visit them. It suggested such calls to encourage face-to-face contact for prisoners, including foreign nationals or the parents of young babies, as part of the proposals to prevent reoffending. Research indicates that reoffending rates are 39% lower among prisoners who receive visits from a partner or relative compared to those inmates who did not have family contact. Now, what that's referring to, that last sentence there about the reoffending rates are 39% less likely, no, that's a really shoddy written little article there, that last piece, because what they're making reference to is Lord Farmer, who stated that prisoners who receive visits or family contact whilst in prison are 39% less likely to reoffend. That's what they're making reference to. It says here, though, in Northern Ireland, where it was rolled out, prisoners were allocated up to 30 minutes a week. That's not good enough. In my opinion, every cell, I know it's obviously like dependent on, obviously, austerity is hitting everything hard, especially prisoners, guys. Do you know what I mean? They've lost a lot of their budget. But Skype being introduced, it should be in every cell. On your TV or something, or on the wall, or on a little laptop. In H&P Berwyn, for example, prisoners get like a little laptop thing, like a little tablet/laptop, where they can book their visits. It's just like a kiosk or a CMS. Unilink, where they do the visits, they order their food and stuff like that. A lot of prisoners smash them up and stuff, which isn't the best, because obviously it's an expensive do, but you've got to look at the reasons why prisoners smash things up. The initiative would be a fantastic one, guys, but the thing is, what concerns me is where it says there, Prisons Minister Rory Stewart wants to bring in the new virtual visits. This should be used in conjunction with prison visits and should never replace face-to-face contact. Never, never, never. 30 minutes a week in Ireland, in Northern Ireland, sorry, where it was being rolled out and stuff at McGilligan Prison. 30 minutes a week is simply not enough. I think every prisoner should have this in their cell. Like I say, obviously we're talking if we had a blank check and stuff, but you've got to look, guys, right? Family ties whilst in prison, in my honest opinion, can be the difference between life and death, self-harm or no self-harm. Now, like I say, I'm not stupid. Not every prisoner is it's not gonna reduce everyone from self-harming and stuff like that and suicides, but if you're feeling low and stuff like that, the prison phone, guys, is so expensive in prisons that's why mobile phones are used in prisons for many different reasons. Yes, people do sends for where they'll do a video slagging another prisoner off in another prison, or they're slating the system, or they're showing how to live in HMP, right? They do get to like order drugs and getting parcels brought in and drones and stuff like that brought in 100%, right? And intimidate witnesses to get people to retract statements and stuff. But also, let's look at the other side of things. A lot of prisoners in prison keep their mobile phones just so they can speak to their missus and their loved ones, because the prison phone is so expensive. I'll give you a scenario, right? I worked in prison for 7 days a week, right? Now you're probably thinking, oh, you got a great wage. I mean, you could put, you probably got 100 quid a week or something, 50 quid a week. I worked 7 days a week, guys, in Forest Bank as a cleaner on the induction wing. I got paid a whopping £11.75p. Then they take £1 for your telly. That leaves me with £10.75p for being exploited for 7 days a week, right? So if I put that £10 in credit, £10.75 on the kiosk, on my pin, on my prison pin, on my phone, right? How long do you think I can talk for 10 minutes for working 7 days a week for £10.75? Not very long, guys. Everyone's got mobiles these days. So like I say, if you're ringing a mobile, it's like ringing from a payphone. It's an expensive do. My attitude, I used to have many discussions with a unit manager saying, look, I believe personally, as a serving prisoner, I believe like that in 2017, as it was last year when I got out, that prisoners should be able to receive incoming calls via the prison pin system. It will cut down on mobile phones, and obviously a lot of friends and family have got free minutes, they've got landlines, free evening and weekend calls, do you know what I mean? Or mobiles, they might be on contract or they're on gift gaff, and they get free minutes to minutes. So it'd be cheaper, it encourage family ties, it would see a reduction in mobile phone use, it'd also see a reduction, I believe, again, in self-harm and suicides, because if you can like get on the phone, or you can Skype your loved one, and you can physically see them face to face, and you can see your children growing up, and your children can show you the homework or paintings they've done and stuff like that. I think that would definitely reduce in part self-harm, suicides, and the use of mobile phones. If we had incoming calls for prisoners, I think that would be a fantastic initiative. I think that the prison could very easily generate an extension number, and between the hours of, say, 6 AM and midnight, pre-approved numbers, so 5, 6, 7 numbers, will be able to call you, and it comes straight through to your cell. Because every cell should have a telephone. It's being rolled out now. Certain prisons, Berwyn, I believe, you've all got phones in the cell, not mobiles. I'm talking about landlines, because for those that don't know, in your prison cell, every cell that I've been in, there's always been a phone socket, which means the calls are recorded. It's through the prison pin system. Security remains intact, and it encourages family ties. I've heard that it's been rolled out in Old Course, Berwyn. I believe Strangeways apparently now as well, according to another story that I'm going to be doing in a minute. But like I say, guys, Skype in prison, fantastic initiative, great idea. I said this on the Victoria Derbyshire show. For me, family ties can be the difference between life and death. I genuinely do believe that. And the fact is, right, that the prisons minister is so far up the arse of the Prison Officers Association that he doesn't pay tribute and homage, to prisoners' families who are long suffering. Prisoners' families isn't guilty of nothing, guys. They, if anything, they're doing their part in reducing reoffending, right? But they say, oh, Lord Farmer says that like prisoners that receive visits whilst inside and have family ties are 39% less likely to reoffend. What did the MOJ do? Ship people hundreds of miles away from home. Go figure, guys. It's the reality. But Skype should never. It's a great initiative. It should be used in conjunction with. It should be used in conjunction with prison visits, so it should never replace face-to-face visits and stuff like that. I mean, the thing is as well with this Skype, guys, they can't even get video linked to work in these prisons. So how are they going to roll out Skype like so that it actually works and stuff? Do you know what I'm saying? But great initiative. It will, like I say, they shouldn't use it as the IEP. They shouldn't. For those that don't know, IEP is a behavioural system, behavioural program within the prisons. IEP stands for incentives, earn privileges. So you've got basic, you've got standard, you've got basic, entry, standard, and enhanced. Enhanced is pretty much like where you haven't had a nick in for like 3 months, and then but once you move to another prison, you've got to start all over again. Stupid. So it shouldn't be used as carrot and stick. What I'm saying, they shouldn't. Every prisoner should given access to Skype in prisons. 30 minutes a week, guys. Don't really rate that. I don't think that that's gonna. It needs to be in cell. That needs to be in cell. I genuinely do believe it. That's if we're talking. If we had a blank check, and you've got to look at the reoffending rates. Cost of tax were around 13.5 to 15 billion pounds a year reoffending rates. So if you took a slice of that and then put it into prison, take your budget, and rather than putting more bars and shit like that and sniffer dogs and drug detection and all that shit, right, which does cause havoc within the prison, problems, obviously contraband, because you've got debt, you've got fear, intimidation, bullying and violence. Invest in the prisoners that you want to rehabilitate. That's my attitude. Let prisoners receive incoming calls via the prison PIN system, so that, like I say, it's cheaper, encourages family ties. So that way, that if you're working for, like I said, you can earn £7.50 a week, £10, £12, £15, £20, £25. I've heard up to £28 a week can earn in prison, depending on what job you're doing, like number ones and stuff, orderlies, blah, 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 right? Now, you shouldn't have to choose. I literally, at convicted, I was allowed to spend £15 a week, guys, right? So my mum was sending me money in. I was working, so I shouldn't have to choose between, oh, do I put this much on credit or do I get some food and toiletries? I shouldn't have to choose. I should be able to receive incoming calls, and I should be also able to spend that money then on what I need from the prison canteen. Toiletries, pens, pencils, paper, scran, noodles, all the usual prison stuff that you need to get by. Roll-on deodorants, coffee, milk, sugar, the necessities, man. But like I say, this should be used in conjunction with visits and not in place of. Virtual visits, I don't like that word. They should never, ever, ever, Skype should never replace face-to-face visits. Is it going to come in? I don't know. They're talking about it. That's great. But let's just see what the future holds. What are your ideas? What are your opinions on this? What do you think about prisoners receiving incoming calls via the prison system, via pre-approved numbers, pre-approved even numbers? What do you think about Skype? Some people say it's going soft on prisoners. It's not going soft on prisoners. You've got to look at the big picture, guys. By brutalizing prisoners even, doesn't aid rehabilitation, nor does it act as a deterrent. It makes monsters, and it creates monsters. And with fewer police on the streets, guys, the last thing you want is these people leaving the system pissed off, where rehabilitation hasn't taken place, and they go straight back to crime. We need to nurture these prisoners, re-engage with them, show them there is another way, and family ties, like I say, if you've got a stressed out prisoner that's smashing the fuck out of his pad, and then he can go onto his TV and he can knock it, or a Skype call comes in and it overtakes the TV, and he can see his missus on the phone, he's going to chill out in it, she's going to talk some sense into him, it's going to calm him down. She'll also piss him off, and he'll also smash his pad up because of it, because prisoners are very volatile, and they have volatile. Prisoners like crazy women. Crazy women like people that are like cons mentality, but then they go mad when they have to visit jail, don't they? But I'm just waffling, guys. I'm just giving my opinion, what I think. I was on the Victoria Derbyshire programme about this. I think it's a very good initiative. This was last year. We're talking about now in 2018. And the fact is, this should be fast-tracked in and be brought into with prisoners. Should never replace face-to-face visits or legal visits. Do you know what I mean? Legal visits, so they'll become reliant on the Skype system and stuff like that. They shouldn't have like one little pod on the wing or like in the bottom of the jail or something. Every wing should have Skype, and every cell should have it. Once it's rolled out onto the wings and stuff, right, then it should be put so that it's in cell. So prisoners have got a landline and they've got a Skype. And then, like I say, if you smash it, you shouldn't get it again, or unless you pay for it, because you can get fined if you smash it up. But like I say, re-engage these prisoners, keep them in contact with the families, which is 39% less likely these prisoners to reoffend according to Lord Farmer. Whether that's true or not, I'm not a statistician. Easy for me to say. Right, guys, going to leave it here. Like, comment, subscribe. Cody out.